Again, I'm Thomas Wright, and first and foremost, ladies, the most important thing to me is my lovely wife that's here with me tonight. So Faith, if you'll So I like to joke around a lot and say that we're newlyweds, and I get a lot of looks and everything, and I'm like, well, 32 years, that's pretty new. No, life has been interesting, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been scary, a lot of scary. We have 3 boys, and so I was born in Denver. Don't hold that against me. I grew up on a little farm outside of Fort Collins in Timnath. Spent quite a bit of time with my grandparents. And I'll share why in a little bit, but after spending time with my grandparents there on the farm, my mom decided she had in her mind that once we got to middle school, that we needed to move to Missouri. My wife says that's misery, and so if you've been there, you probably would agree with her, but it's a pretty good place to raise kids. I grew up there, joined the Army, met my wife, took her on a whirlwind tour of the country for a while, and then we had 3 boys, and so we decided that we had no desire to raise our kids in Denver. And so I said, well, how about Missouri? And so we raised our kids there. Once they were graduated, my wife said enough of misery, and so she wanted to come back to Colorado. And so I said I wanted nothing to do with Denver. But you know what was important to us is we have a particular way of life. Faith, family, and our country is the most important thing to me. And so in looking for a place to live, we found Garfield County, and we've been here about 15 years, and we chose here because Garfield County aligns the most with our principles, our way of life, and what we want to see. And we've talked a lot about this evening about change and being pushed further down valley, and so I don't want to see that change. I don't want to see any more of that.
Sorry.
You know, bless you.
Thank you.
When we left Missouri, we had 50 acres, a 3-bedroom ranch style house, and our payment was $600. And then we came to Newcastle, and the biggest place that we could find within our budget at the time was off of Cathedral Court here in town. It's like a little triplex. On the ends, you have little 2-bedroom, little single-car garages. In the middle, you can have a bigger family. And so they said, this could be yours for the low price of $1,000. And I thought, where did we go? And so everyone that I was working with at the time says, you got a great deal. And they're right, because now we pay $3,500. And in order for us to do that, like many of us, our youngest son and his 2 daughters live with us. That's the only way that we can afford to live here. And so whenever you look up in rural Colorado, what are some of the main things that we deal with or that stress us the most, or the problems? I know it will come as a surprise: cost of living. Being able to purchase a home in Garfield County, you're looking to purchase anything reasonable home from 2-bedroom or maybe a little bit larger, over $600,000, kind of on the far west end. All the way up to, we're climbing up to $800,000 to $1 million sometimes if you have anything larger than 2-bedroom. No property. That doesn't include property. We had a bunch of horses. I don't know why. But they didn't come with us. But after our kids graduated college, here they come. We're following mom and dad. And so our 3 boys are here in Colorado. Our oldest son is on the Front Range. He's an attorney. Don't hold that against me. He's married and has 2 kids, and then our 2 youngest boys are here in Garfield County with us. Our middle son just got married to a lovely nurse, and they live in Rifle. And our youngest son and his 2 daughters, like I said, they live with us. Like I said, just had 3 boys. Girls scare me to death. They're 6 and 7 and are getting ready to be 7. And I don't know, they scream all the time. They scream when they're happy, when they're sad. I ask my wife constantly, is this normal? Do I need to be alarmed? No, that's just normal. And so they call me Poppy, and pretty much what they want, they get. So that's a problem. But no. So where does law enforcement fall into being able to protect your way of life? And so how can I as a sheriff protect your money or the economy and help you save? Maybe it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to you, but my job is to be fiscally responsible with my office. And so in order to do that, this year, Garfield County Sheriff's Office cut $2 million out of their budget. That was something that the commissioners asked them to do, and that's exactly what they did. I don't know what's to come in the future. I would imagine more cuts if we don't see growth in certain areas. So we've got to be able to manage that. Right now, we've not seen a sheriff's office that's been fully staffed in a number of years. I have some speculation why that is. I think we need a culture change, and I want to be that change. We need a change where your sheriff is transparent, where your sheriff answers to you, the community. And part of what I want to do is I'll have community advisors to where we'll meet monthly, because I want to know what's important to you. You know, we used to do a lot of Crime Stoppers and a lot of neighborhood crime watch groups. I don't know why we've gotten away from that, but those were some of the pieces of gold that we were able to find out, hey, I need a street light here, or this is what's going on down the street. We have this new family that's moved in, and we see cars coming and going at all times of the night and day. We don't know what's going on. There has been a huge break in communication with our community, and we need to get back to that. I don't know what's happened. I can't explain to you why. All I know is we need to get back into that. I've spent the last 25 years in law enforcement wearing every hat that you can imagine. Other candidates are going to talk to you about their executive level experience and how they've spent the last 15 years in an office pushing paper. That's not where I've been. I'm not a politician. If you've heard me speak, I have no desire to be a politician. I'm a worker for the people. And part of that means community partnerships again, okay? So I've been talking about nonprofits, other than the fact that there's no money to do anything. I sit on several boards to include Treetop, which is a child advocacy center. And I am the president of BAT, which is Battlement to the Belts. It's an anti-human trafficking task force. And I've spent the last 6 years bringing education into Garfield County and the Western Slope to talk about how to investigate human trafficking, what it looks like, how to recognize it, and try to make sure that every one of our law enforcement partners up and down this valley can recognize it easily. Just because we're on a traffic stop for a speeding ticket doesn't mean that we can't pay a little bit closer attention to what's happening besides the speed. And so what I will tell you in all the years that I've been doing that education is Garfield County's not attended a single class. And so every one of my deputies will have that class, and we'll have advanced classes and know how to investigate that. Because I'm telling you, The stats that we're seeing is we have human trafficking up and down I-70 and Highway 82. These are things that are costing you money day in and day out. Those are things that I'm going to address right away. Some of the other issues that we need to see is, besides our community partnerships, is partnerships again with our schools. One of the hats that I wore in the last 25 years is a school resource officer. Part of my job, not only developing relationships with kids, but believe it or not, those of you that are in the school board or active in the school board, you know that sometimes our schools aren't on their best behavior. And so we have a lot of curriculum, a lot of different things that come in under our noses, a lot of things that we're not aware of. It is helpful for me to have partnerships with the schools so I can have a better understanding of what's happening there. One of the things that I did in Missouri as a peace officer is being able to testify at the House and Senate to push through laws. And that's something that I haven't seen happen here in Garfield County, is a sheriff that's willing to stand in the gap for you. And so part of what I've done for the last 30 years is I took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States.
Yes.
I don't take that lightly. Colorado, as much as I love this place, we have a problem that's coming from the Front Range that's moving this way.
Amen.
And no one's standing in the gap for you. Okay, I've spent the last few Saturdays talking about our Second Amendment rights, so you can understand what the current gun laws are, how they affect us, and what wave of madness is coming from the Front Range trying to take our gun and our gun rights away from us. Those are things that I'll stand in the gap and be willing to go down to Denver and start to testify against why. So this is something that we talked about recently, is we have a huge lack of common sense and good judgment. At every level, okay? No,
It's not common.
100%. We need to get back to where we're using common sense and good judgment.
Thank you.
From my deputies to our lawmakers, the madness needs to stop. I don't pretend to understand the current environment of what's happening. I know that I want to address kind of the elephant in the room. If you've been watching social media, things are pretty crazy right now. I want you to be careful about who you're putting in office. The last time that I spoke at one of our caucus trainings, you've got 3 people that are running for office for the sheriff. And all of us have different levels of experience. I need you to be careful about, how many of you have ever bought a used car? Yep. How many loved your salesman? Wasn't he great? Let me tell you how wonderful this car is. It's one owner, it's just been driven highway miles. I mean, they're telling you all the right things, right? Now it's on you if you get in that car and you sign that contract without you lifting up that hood. If you're not looking underneath that hood and taking that for a test drive, that's on you. It's the same with voting. You need to check out your candidates. If you take a look around, we have just a handful of people, a very small handful of people that are under 30 in this room. Why is that? We're at a time where our young people, we've got to figure out a way to get them involved in what's happening in our daily lives, what's happening in our legislation, what's happening with the people that we're putting in office. This can't be all that's caring about what happens to Garfield County and to the state. So I need you to talk to your families. I need you to talk to your young people. I need you to get them excited again. Because what I envision for Garfield County is a county where we can send our kids out again like we grew up, where they can go out and play without being fearful of some kind of madness happening, to where they can play all night until that dusk to dawn light comes on and moms and dads are yelling at them to come home for dinner. There's nothing wrong with those times. Those were better times. And we need to get back to that, to where we trust our neighbor. We're talking to our neighbors. We're having face-to-face conversations again, where you trust your law enforcement that's providing services for you. That's what I can bring for you, is trust again in law enforcement. Now, there's a lot of different programs, and I know I want to honor some of us that have to leave in their time, but there's a lot of different things that, I don't know about you, but I'm tired of arresting the same person over and over and over again. And so currently, we don't have a whole lot of programs in our jails, and so that's something that I want to bring. Was pretty successful in some of the jails that I've worked with. If we're going to hold people, let's make good use of their time. Let them start learning some skills to be able to communicate, to where they can function in society again, where they can be productive members of society. I want them to come back. I want them to go home. I want them to start having good relationships with their families once again. I want them to get jobs. I want them to be productive citizens of Garfield County. If not, I want them out, okay? And so don't mistake my kindness for weakness. If you're a bad guy, I don't care what your status is. If you're a bad guy, I'm going to hunt you down, because you're not welcome here in our county, okay? I want law-abiding citizens in our county. I want it to be a peaceful county. I want us to be able to talk to each other, so that way I can address problems before they grow into where you're having to call 911 and my deputies are having to scream up and down this valley to come help you. We shouldn't have to wait for a murder-suicide for us to get involved to start helping our neighbor. Those are things that I want to get involved in at the starting level, to where we can start problem solving before things grow into a bigger problem. As far as I kind of breezed over this, I apologize. I get a little excited sometimes. And so in the 15 years that have been up here, I worked for Basalt Police Department, was patrol supervisor, wore numerous hats there. I'm currently a detective with Eagle County Sheriff's Office. Live here in Garfield County. A lot to what we heard earlier. It's hard to work and live in the same county, because financially, right now we have a lot of deputies that live in Mesa County, because what we're paying them here, they can only afford to live in Mesa, so they're driving back and forth to work. That's something that I want to address right away. There's no reason why my deputies need to live outside of the county in order to make it. And so those are some of the things that we're going to be looking at in the budget. Not only becoming fully staffed, but we need to be competitive in our pay up and down this valley. If you want professional deputies, they've got to be highly trained, and we've got to pay them appropriately, so these other agencies aren't taking them away from us. And so I need the people that you live with and grew up with, that your kids grew up with, that want to be in law enforcement. I want them to be able to live here and work here. That's what you deserve. What questions do you have? Yes, my friend. We worked together for many years.
I've just moved down, like I said before, but what I see, because I have a business in Garfield County and I am involved with the sheriff's office out there, is the
Can you speak up a little bit?
it's just the environment and just the deputies and how they look at what they would do for what to deal with, and they're very lackadaisical. How do you change that environment? I mean, Lou's been there, 32 years? or something, and yes, you're saying that you're not fully staffed, you'd like to get fully staffed, but you've got to change a whole culture.
Absolutely.
And so how, I mean, your ideas are great and your thoughts are great, and I know what you do in school, I've seen it, my boys were there. Getting into the schools, getting into the communities and having more community involvement and people that are involved, but how do you change that culture in a large department? And, you know, I hear we lost $2 million, but that's a pretty wealthy department. How do you change that culture?
Absolutely. You either change or you don't work for me anymore. That's the bottom line. And so I've been a person of integrity. That's one thing my grandpa told me is, I didn't come back to that, and I'm going to answer your question. So I spent the first, why do I do this? I spent the first 12 years of my life being abused in every way you can think possible by my biological father. It took 12 years for my mom to get us out of a domestic abuse situation. There's a lot of reasons why, and don't mistake, men and women can be in a domestic abuse situation, but so I'm going to speak in stereotypes, so forgive me, but women have a tendency to stay for a number of different reasons, whether it's financial, fear, the isolation. It doesn't just happen overnight. It's over a period of years that the person that's abusing them or controlling them has this hold on them that they think that they can't break free. They have so much control over everything that they do in their life that they feel like they're either going to die or not be able to survive without them. And so that was my mom. There was multiple times, time and time again, that we would leave and we're like, oh, we're out of it. And then for whatever reason, whether it's finances or whatever, we were right back into that situation. I don't pretend to understand it, but I also don't understand a lot about addictions and different things like that. We get stuck in a cycle, but all I know is that after 12 years, we were able to get away from that. And what I promised myself, I'm the oldest of 3 kids, is my life's mission is to help protect those that can't protect themselves. And so I've spent a considerable amount of my time up Valley and response teaching about abuse, domestics, why that happens. And what I would tell you is, I don't care who you are, your sheriff, your deputies are not above the law. They're not above the law. And they will answer for any crime that they commit or any injustice that happens, they will answer to it. Everyone has due process, don't get me wrong. But if you can't walk the line and be the example in my office, you're not welcome any longer, okay? And so I've spoke this before because I've had Garfield deputies at other meetings that I've had. I don't want them to be fearful. I'm not coming in just to clean house, okay? I need people to be able to work for me. But I have an expectation of what a level of professionalism is and what integrity is. And if they're willing to sign off on that level of professionalism and integrity, they can work for me. If not, they can find a different place to work. That means we're also going to get to where you're going to get personal service. No more are we going to sit in the office and take your call over the phone. My deputies are going to come to your home. They're going to get dust on their boots, dirt on their cars, and they're going to serve you in person. We have to change our level of service. You deserve that. You pay for that. And so if they can't toe the line,
They like the rifle annex.
not anymore.
Sorry.
So they're going to be out on the road. They're not going to be sitting in the office. Okay? That I give you my word. What else? That's a long answer.
Good answer.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you expand on your posse idea?
Oh, she's been to some meetings. So, this isn't supposed to cause any fear with anybody because, you think, posse, what's happening here? So, the problem is, just like we were talking about with wildfire season, When we get into a situation where we have a wildfire, that's the sheriff's job to manage that wildfire as far as evacuations, coordinating resources. I'm gonna be short on manpower. And so this is just one example of why I need a posse or a reserve group of deputies to where I can have this. So right now, so you can understand, is there's such a shortage of law enforcement statewide. I can send people to the academy for free right now, okay? I will open it up to where if you have an interest in training and you want to come be a part of my posse, I will send you to the academy. In exchange for that, I'm going to ask in times of emergency that you're going to be available to come work for me and help us, whether we're doing evacuations, whether we have the canyon for the umpteenth time this year shut down. We're going to do things to where we can make things flow safer, quicker. What I could tell you, I was at the basalt fire when that happened, and that's probably the most fearful I've ever been of losing life. We didn't have enough manpower, and thankfully the Lord kind of let the wind change, and we didn't have a lot of loss. But if it didn't, we would have been in trouble because we didn't have enough manpower to evacuate. I'm not a guy that likes to stand and respond to an incident. I want to be prepared in advance. Okay, I don't want to wait for an emergency, and so part of my posse will have it already in place. We'll have it. I used to do emergency management, so we're going to have all these things in place. So when we have a major incident, then we can respond appropriately. Also, one of the things that I've been concerned about is losing our gun rights. And you've heard me say this before, if I have to deputize anybody that wants to carry, then we're going to have to look at how we're going to do that. And so, sir.
On the posse, do you certify volunteers?
So if you're willing to be a part of training, so the state requires POST. So if you don't know what POST is, it's Peace Officers Standards and Training. So we're all licensed through the state, but we have to get a minimum number of hours of training or CEUs every year to keep that up. If you're willing to attend that training, then I'll keep you certified.
Do you also use, because I used to be a red card sawyer for the Forest Service. So do those coincide, or is that different?
There's not a direct reciprocity.
So you're not
on that.
connected, it's two
It is two separate
Okay.
things. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. Okay. What other? Yes, ma'am.
Unfortunately, every weekend that you've had the red flag, I've had to work. Are you gonna do any evening ones?
What's your question?
Well, I really wanted to, obviously with all the stuff that's coming from the Front Range.
Sure.
It's a concern, the red flags and whether we're protected.
Sure. So there's two things I'm going to talk about before you guys make me sit down. I want to talk about immigration real quick, but red flag. So it's getting expanded. And what that means is that even a school teacher can say that little Johnny is a danger, he's made a threat, and we can come and take all the guns from your home. So the problem is people aren't paying attention to this red flag. So I have multiple people, like my son lives in my home. It's not just to that person. It applies to that entire resident. So everyone in that home is going to lose their guns. It's not constitutional, and we're not going to do that on my watch. Every situation is different and needs to be looked at differently. Okay, immigration. I support our immigration. I support our federal workers. I'm all about making sure that we keep our community safe, and part of that I want to be there and make sure that we're keeping our community members safe. But I also want our agents to be safe, but I do support immigration, okay? That's part of why we're
legal.
That's part of why we're losing money. And so we need to get back to where, do it right. If you want to be in this country, immigrate here. Do it correctly, okay? I support that. Okay. You're like, sit
Well, I
down.
actually have you till
Sit down.
7:30, but
Okay.
if they have more questions for you, you
I,
can.
just real quick and strange question, but do you have any family or close friends that are in, the office positions in any other towns in Colorado?
What do you mean?
Do you have, like, any family or friends that are,
Nepotism.
Oh, so this is what I promise
not really
you.
that, but
I'm not gonna hire my wife to be my jail
No, that's not
administrator,
what I mean.
okay?
Do you have any family or friends that are officers in Wyoming or Nevada?
Okay, so, my family's a law enforcement family.
Uh-huh.
My uncle was 30 years with Colorado State Patrol. Don't hold that against me, State Patrol is good, all right? That's why the I-70. So, we're pretty short on State Patrol, which is why you're having to see sometimes deputies working accidents and picking up the slack there. But 30 years there.
Is he still there?
He is not. He's retired. And he's retired to heaven now, so. Kind of a success story on my mom. My mom became the first female deputy in Missouri for a county there in pursuit of a career in law enforcement. My brother was a detective for many years. Currently, I have extended family in law enforcement. No one works for Garfield County. My son, my middle son, Dakota, he's a jail supervisor for Pickens County. So that's about as close as the rest of the boys. Listen, I beg them not to go into law enforcement. This is a tough job. We see things on a daily basis that most people will never see in their lives. Trust me, I know who the real heroes are. That's our firefighters. I tease them all the time. But no one's inviting us over for barbecues, okay? Usually, if you're asking me to come over, it's because it's the worst day of your life. And so I want whatever I can do, or whatever my deputies can do, to make that not be the worst experience that you have. I want that to happen.
What's your plan for dealing with the increasing homelessness in our area?
Oh, I'm about to tell a secret. So I have a meeting with someone because I want to understand exactly what we're doing for homelessness countywide. I know there's been some efforts. What's discouraging to me is we have some towns that are refusing to address this. And so Glenwood Springs, for example, not to point anyone out.
Well, Pickens County just gives them a bus ticket down to Garfield, so.
So much I want to say about Pickens. So, right now we allow our homeless population in Glenwood Springs to go up into the mountain and camp up there. That really bothers me. If my kids and my grandkids are hiking or something and they are running across whatever that situation is, no, we're not doing that. And so there's a few different things that in patrol that we're going to address. And so we're going to have a group of people that are going to find out, hey, one, we need to know who are, I don't know if you realize it or not, but if you go to Walmart, you probably see the same people over and over again. I want to understand who they are, why they're there, and kind of address what we can do to help them. This is the problem. In all the years that I've been doing law enforcement, I know this might be hard to understand. There are people who choose to be that way, who choose to be homeless.
Yes, they do.
No amount of help wants to get them off the street. They choose that way. And so I need to have a better understanding if they're receiving the mental health services that they need. But I want to start to work with the commissioners to start to better understand what we can do, whether it's any kind of ordinances within our town, but I need to have a better look at why that's happening. But we also need to be able to protect our way of life and make it safe for all communities, and so that includes that population as well.
So just for the record, the reason I am asking is because some people, I had family come in from out of town that were gonna go up to Dock Holidays, and they got intimidated by the homeless population and did not go. And, you know, that's not even talking about people who are addicted to illegal substances that cause other types of issues in the community.
So, another surprise, we have a drug problem in Garfield County. So, the wonderful thing is I have a lot of great relationships with task force, with the FBI, with HSI. And so I plan on continuing to have those good relationships as becoming your sheriff. Although you have a lot of things to say about Pickens County, I know Michael Buglione. He wants to work with us. I don't think they're gonna build a jail anytime soon, so if they need to house their inmates with us, then there's gonna be a fee. We're not doing things for free. And so a lot of our area law enforcement I've been talking to, we're gonna be partners in a lot of these issues. I need the Sheriff's Association in Colorado to come together to where we can go to our House and Senate and start using common sense and good judgment. Jerry?
This is more directed toward our new commissioner, so this won't count against your time, okay? But the $2 million budget cut, there was probably a fraction of that might have been pork. But I talked to the other two commissioners that are staying at that one meeting at Nuvo a month and a half ago or so. And I said, what's the number one purpose of government? Everybody in this room, I don't know, federal level, number one purpose of the federal government is? Service. Protect the nation. Keep us safe. Defend the nation. That's the number one job. Forget about everything else in the federal government. If they don't do that, we all got guns at our door every night. State government, number one job, protect the people. County government, city government, number one job is to make it safe for the people. And I think part of the problem that the county commissioners are doing here, and I don't have all the facts and figures, but when you look at the budget, how much money would we save if the other problem you brought up earlier, you can't name, and nobody in this room, nobody's ever told me a social problem that can't be answered with the question, where's the father? Why aren't we going after the dirtbag fathers, and not everyone, I mean just in general, but why aren't we going after the fathers that are causing a lot of these problems by abandoning the kid, get the chick pregnant, go get another one pregnant, go get another one pregnant? Why aren't we going after them for child support and a lot of this other stuff that the county budget is spent on, the social service aspect of it, and we would have an extra $2 million for our deputies. But the commissioners are guilty, and I looked at Perry Will and Mike Sampson were at that meeting. I said everything but shame on you guys. There's other places to cut or fix the problem, but we're not fixing the problem by just passing out a welfare check, just like Tila said about the homeless. Well, they used to have insane asylums, and they had a roof over their head, 3 meals a day, a safe compound to walk around in, and the Democrat says, oh, that's cruel and unusual punishment. Let's give them a welfare check and put them on the street.
Yeah.
And so we don't have insane asylums anymore. But anyway, we're not addressing the real problem. Where's the father? Let's go after the real problem on some of this social stuff. My heart goes out for every one of these poor, single moms, the single dads and all that, but it's not fixing the problem by just giving them a check. They need family first, then their church should be helping out.
That's where our churches need to step up a little bit
Yeah.
and help us out. We have broken families. What we don't need is bigger government. That's not gonna fix this, and I'm not about building bigger government. Sir?
Would it be correct to say that you, as sheriff, would work with community organizations? Because you're lawful enforcement, period. You're not social organizations. So you, as lawful enforcement, would work with social agencies to bridge that gap. Because one thing I see in Garfield County now is that I worked in the jails as a volunteer, and there's a total disconnect between sheriff's officers and the community. In my personal opinion, the gap between the father and the child is a lawful officer working with social programs. It's not a sheriff's duty to create social organizations, but the officer can work with those organizations and make that connection.
Yeah, make no mistake, if you remember your government lessons from 5th and 6th grade, I fall under the executive branch. I'm not legislative, I'm not judicial. And so my job is to investigate, to enforce the laws, protect you, provide protection, bring peace. I want to stand in the gap where that has been empty for many years, but our family unit has got to come back together. We've got to hold our families accountable. I need parents to start being parents again, okay? And so I don't want our schools raising our kids. I want parents to have permission, give themselves permission to parent.
Yeah.
And I spanked my kids, they'll tell you, Dad spanked us. There's nothing wrong with that. And so there's a difference between abuse and being punished, okay? And so the first kid that calls, I've had kids call 911, and we've had a little coming to Jesus meeting, okay? And so we need to empower our parents to be parents again, okay?
And when you say those things, just to kind of wrap that up, you would work with the agencies or the churches or whatever to send people that way. Like we have a
Yeah.
woman in our group that works with domestic violence cases. So you probably would work with her and then you get that connection going. So I think that's.
It's a
what you're trying to say.
partnership completely. I work with the social workers to not only investigate, but they also ask me, what is your recommendation? We work in all these different areas, all the different support systems. We come together and we all collaborate and work together.
Okay, I had to-
Nope, cut me
I
off.
hate to do it because he's so good. He's
He
been
is
awesome,
good.
but I know you guys.